Namaskar, all of you. Now, today we proceed to next sutra that comes after Samskar Sakshatkaranat Purvajati Jnanam. Now, the next siddhi is Parachitta Jnanam. Pratyahara Parachitta Jnanam. So, that is the sutra that we are going to take up. Parachitta Jnanam means knowledge of the chitta of others than oneself, someone other than oneself. So, what we call as mind readers, that they are able to read the mind of others. Somebody able to read the mind of others, we say that person has a ability to be reading the mind. And even we commoners can have some kind of such power, or it is such natural ability. It's not a power, it is natural ability to know someone else's mind. In that case, what do we know, we commoners? From the face, from the facial expression, or by gestures, we can understand the mind of someone else. And that is what we commoners usually try to do it. We want to take a judgment of someone else by looking at the face of the person, or by the gesture of the person, and by the body language of the person. So by body language of another person, we will have some idea about the state of mind of that person, or what is called as a face. By looking at the face of that person, we can also have some idea about the state of mind of that person. And with the gestures of hands and legs, to some extent we can read into mind of others. Of course, this needs good observation. So therefore we call something as face reading. And what is the face reading? By face reading we mean mind reading. So by appearance of face of someone, we can have some idea about antasthiti of that person. Antasthiti means antakarana sthiti, or the state of that person, whether the person is angry, what kind of emotion is playing on the surface of the mind of that person. It could be anger, it could be craze, it could be delirium, it could be madness. It could be goodness of that person or badness of the person. So little insight we do get into the mind of that person, the state of the mind of the person, and the culture of the mind of the person. So of course this is all inference, or this is imagination, or this is kind of what is called as some kind of reading of the mind state. So it could be just a conjecture. More often it's a conjecture, or it is imagination, or it is inference. Now it can be valid or invalid. So even if it is valid, it is based on our conjecture, our and imagination, or our inference. Now here Patanjali is speaking about Parachitta Jnanam, reading the mind of someone that we do in our business activity of life and our worldly life. That's only mind reading, but Patanjali is speaking about Chitta Gamanam, Parachitta jnanam. And now you should be aware of the fact that the Chitta is more pervasive concept than mind. Mind is just a part of Chitta. And mind is something very, very superficial, while the Chitta is not. Now, Patanjali is speaking about Samyama. This is Samyama. And therefore, we can imagine how this would have greater depth in reading the mind of others. In English, you don't have any other word which is more pervasive, which is with respect to mind, but more pervasive to mind. We don't have a term in English, we call it mind reading. This could be something like deep mind reading, more extensive mind reading, that would be Parachitta jnanam. So it's almost a scan of somebody else's mind. Now this is possible by not just normal faculty functions, which, as I said, we also indulge in it. We have conjectures, we have imaginations, we have inferences. But this is samyamatmaka, samyamajanya, and therefore this is almost like a scan of somebody's mind stuff, a scan of somebody's chitta. So we can understand how it is more pervasive and having more depth as well. So with this regard, there are two sutras which Patanjali invests. So the first of those two sutras is Pratyahara Parachitta jnanam, and immediately he brings another sutra which is very much related to this. Nachatat salambanam tasya avishayi bhutatvat. So this is what Patanjali is telling us, that by pratyaya means the cognition that comes in samyama, there would be parachitta jnanam. The samyama would give a kind of cognition in the mind of a yogi, for which the object of that yogi's mind is somebody else's mind, called parachitta jnanam. So yogi will be able to do far better than we do it by our normal faculty functions and with our ability and skill to have conjectures, imaginations, inferences. So we can imagine the limitation of our faculties when it comes to reading somebody else's mind. Therefore, it would mean that the yogi is able to have better insight into somebody else's mind. And therefore, yogi knowing somebody else's mind would be more valid and more deeper, more truer compared to our conjectures about somebody else's mind, where we also have imagination or conjecture or inference that somebody is angry, somebody is happy, somebody is sad, somebody is delighted, somebody is worried, somebody is engulfed in by anxiety, etc. So we do have such conjectures, imaginations, and perhaps inferences, and they could be valid or invalid. But in case of samyamatmaka parachitta jnanam, of course there is no question of that being invalid. It is obviously going to be valid, and it's also going to be much more truer. It will have greater depth in reading somebody's mind than just reading the peripheral mind, surface mind of that person, which we do by what is called as Mukhacharya, Mukhamudra, Mukhabhasha, Mukhavirbhav, etc. So these are gestures with which we are able to have conjecture. Our conjectures can perhaps not only circumscribe the state of the mind of the person, but even sometimes the family background, economic state, financial state, social status, or personal life. So we can have some conjectures about all these factors in face reading skills of ours. Maybe somebody's conduct, achar, vichar, ahar, vihar, and if we have already some knowledge about somebody's life, somebody's conduct, then perhaps we will have deeper insight. If you know the family background of a person, economic background of a person, social background of a person, perhaps our conjecture will be more valid and also deeper, and the truth element can be more. This is probable. So this is something like peeping into somebody else's mind. And this habit, human beings have it with regards to neighbors or the close circle people, those who are in close circle. We try to have a peep into somebody's mind, and that is our inquisitiveness. Human mind has this inquisitiveness. At some point in time, we want to peep in somebody's life and peep in somebody's affairs. So we have an element of kind of inquisitiveness, curiosity. So usually this happens to us due to curiosity, that we are curious to know somebody's mind, and that curiosity makes us peep into the mind of that person. But all those things are not here when it comes to yogi. He doesn't have curiosity to peep in somebody's life and get to know somebody's life, because this is going to come by dhyana prakriya, the meditative process which constitutes the samyama would be totally dispassionate mind. Moreover, this mind is inwardly in one's own. The inwardliness with one's own mind, inwardliness into one's own mind. This is taking a dip into one's mind. Then only you get Parachitta jnanam. While the worldly case of mind reading and face reading is we try to peep into the mind of that person, whereas in samyama it is totally different. One not only peeps into one's mind, one penetrates one's mind, and then he gets the pratyaya of somebody else's mind. So that's again distinctive factor between common man's mind reading, or what we call as face reading, and yogi carrying out face reading because of samyama. So therefore this is altogether a different process and structuring when it comes to Parachitta jnanam. And the locus of the samyama is made somebody else's mind. That's all the difference here. One penetrates the mind, but somebody else's mind is made as locus around which the jnanam is evolved. And this happens to yogis. Common man doesn't have this ability. one should be qualified for samadhi, and therefore such things happen to yogi. Yogi has, of course, ability to have sukshma, vyavahita, viprakrushtha jnanam, of which we will be told in a later part of the same chapter. There comes a siddhi which says that yogi has insight into something that is veiled. Now somebody else's mind is veiled. If not the surface mind is veiled, the deeper mind is certainly veiled. Essential mind is absolutely veiled. So something that is veiled or something that is very subtle, somebody else's mind is indeed very, very subtle, and it is also remote than our own mind to us. Somebody else's mind is quite remote, and yogi develops this ability with regards to sukshma, vyavahita, viprakrushtha jnanam, that is knowledge of subtle, knowledge of veiled, and knowledge of remote. So suppose a yogi comes across a person, naturally his curiosity is whether this person is genuinely Mahapurush, a genuinely Alaukik Purusha, is it genuinely Santa Mahanta Mahapurusha, Daivi Purusha, or whether that person is really Sakshatkari Purusha, that is spiritually realized person. And we also come across such things. We come across some person and we think, or we are told that this is a yogi, this is a godly person, God man, or he is Mahapurusha, he is Santa Mahanta, etc. And then we have a doubt in our mind whether it is true or untrue. And then we try to make conjectures based on our logic of mundanity and worldliness. And then we try to really infer how the person could be and may be. So usually we are all carried away by appearances form of some other person, any other person, and that's how we go for assessment of that person. So first of all, the appearance becomes very important for us. And here we are teased, because this is our habit, to look at the appearances form of the other and then try to understand the mind of that person. In Upanishads, we come across certain episodes, and I recall one from Chandogya Upanishad, where there was a self-realized person called Raikva. He was a self-realized person. He was spiritually evolved person, self-realized person, but he would be always dressed untidily with dirty clothes, torn clothes, and by awareness he would project that he is lunatic person, mad person, unwise person. And this Raikva was found like that, with dirty clothes and torn clothes, stinking clothes, the body stinking, appearance dirty, but, and also he would be always found under a handcart. He would be sitting or lying down under a handcart. Only when he would get some engagement, he would put the things on the handcart and push it. So he was a cart holder, and he had a hand cart, and he would be doing the transport business by mobilizing things from one location to another. So this is what he was occupationally, but he was Brahmagnya. And therefore one could never make out from his appearances form that he was Brahmagnya, that he was self-realized person. And we too come across many times such people, and then we try to avoid such person and we miss great opportunities of interface and interaction. Because that's human nature, to look at appearance form and then assess someone. So many times we have missed such noble persons who might have come face to face with us, but we avoided by having a disgust for the appearance form of the person, obnoxious person, stinking person, dirty person, and we have missed, although we were provided chance of meeting someone who is noble, someone who is wise, someone who is spiritually evolved. So the point is that it is very difficult to recognize a mumukshu, sadhu, yogi. And point is, what I am trying to tell you is that to read someone's antaranga by bahiranga is more often fraught with dangers and also lots of disadvantages. Because in mysticism it is said that even the God can appear in any form. And many times, that's the thing, a mystic saint has said, it is not true that any of us or none of us have seen the God. We have seen the God but not identified the God. How do you know that you have not met the God? Because you only did not identify that as a God, but the person could be God sent or godly or God itself. So God in mythology appears in so many forms absolutely unimaginable, and therefore the God is not recognized. It is not true that anyone on the planet has not seen the God. Everyone has seen the God because God is omnipresent. And we look for omnipotence of the God and we don't come across anyone omnipotent, and therefore we say, I have not experienced God. But that is not possible. He is omnipresent. Now, the problem is that we could not recognize. Similarly is the case of others, that the person appearancely might be in a particular form with which we try to have conjecture or imagination or deem certain that such a person is so and so. He is not a good person or a bad person, he is a rogue or is a noble person. This is judgment from appearance form, and this is more often very misleading, many times even dangerous. And we need to have appearance of the face of that person to be carrying out mind reading. While here Samyamatmaka, you don't need that. Yogi doesn't need the face of the person. He doesn't have the conjecture from the face of the person or appearance form of the person. Whereas we need that for mind reading. Not having seen the person at all, how will we read the mind? We want to see the person. We want to have a sight of the person. Now in Samyamatmaka Parachitta jnanam, there is no face available. Yogi doesn't depend upon the face, but yet Parachitta jnanam can happen. And that is because of the pratyaya. That's why pratyasya parachitta jnanam. The Parachitta has certain characteristics which are different than our characteristics of the mind. So this becomes visible by samadhi process and not by our temporal empirical process. We commoners, howsoever we have deep insight, we will not be able to have the knowledge of the core of the mind of that person. But in Samyama it would happen. Because as you know, in Samyama the realization is all dimensional. But however, Patanjali says that there is a limitation in it. Nachatat salambanam tasya vishayi bhutatvat. Well, we read what is the chitta and how is the chitta of that person, but we will not be able to know the reason why the chitta is like that. Now what is this? Let us try to understand the thing as it happens to we commoners also. So many times we read the mind and we say somebody is very angry, somebody is disturbed, somebody is in worry, anxiety. So we can understand the mood of that person, and wise people always read the mood of the person and then take the course of action thereafter. They many times go with an agenda, but looking at the face of the person, they roll it back and they do not go by agenda. Simple reasons like the person seems to be very angry, the person seems to be very disturbed, the person seems to be in lot of disturbance or lot of worry, anxiety, etc. And we don't open the topic at all. And that's quite wise to be doing that way. But we do not know why the mind is like that. Suppose there is anxiety, we do not know the locus of anxiety. Suppose the mind is in worry, we do not understand the locus of worry. We can read the mood, but we do not recognize the locus on account of which the mind is in particular mood. Because that is not the support of our perception. The perception is with regards to appearances form from the eyes of the person, face of the person, etc. It doesn't tell us why the person is angry. It only tells us the person is angry. It doesn't tell us why the person is in worry, anxiety. It only tells us that the person is in worry and anxiety. It doesn't tell us about the cause of that mood of the person, but it tells us about the mood of the person. It is similarly in Samyama. So, Patanjali makes it clear. The support of the Samyama is Parachitta. And therefore it casts a reflection in the yogi's mind, and that is called Pratyaya. So therefore Pratyayasya Parachitta jnanam. But we do not know the support of it. Nachatat salambaram, that is being avishayi, that is not the object of our reading. Why the mind is angry, why the mind is ignoble, why the mind is crazy, etc. We do not know the answer to the question why. So also in Samyama, it is that case. The why will not be circumscribed, and therefore it would be only Parachitta jnanam, and therefore it would be Uparachitta jnanam. Why? Because the alambana of whatever state of mind is not the support of yogis thought process. And that is what is made clear. So, now finally we try to understand this sutra by Vyasa's commentary. But before that, let me give little enunciation that Patanjali is in these two sutras, which has a one topic. It is one topic, one subject matter, and two sutras are allocated. Parachitta bhava, parachitta avishkar, that is the support of samyama. The support of samyama is not the cause of that, but the state itself. The state of mind of someone else is itself the support of samyama and not the cause thereof, cause of that state. And Vyasa tries to open that out, that purport. The Parachitta Jnana, its appearancetive form called Bhava Avishkara, is only object of Samyama or support of Samyama, but not the support of Parachitta. And therefore it is Avishayi Bhuta. It is not Vishayi Bhuta, it is Avishayi Bhuta. So Vyasa tries to explain that. That in Parachitta Jnanam, the appearance of Chitta of that person is object of Samadhi. That whether the person is in what mood, good mood, bad mood, happy mood, delighted mood, sad mood, sorrowed mood, worry, anxiety, etc., etc. So also we do not know why the person is happy or sad, etc. So Desha Kala Nimitta are not the objects. The Sthiti is the object. Now, since that is the support of the Samadhi, only that much is revealed. The support of Samadhi is not the Desha Kala Nimitta, time, space, situation, because of which particular state of the mind or state of Chitta has appeared, and therefore that is Avishayi Bhuta, that is not the object, and therefore that will not be realized. That is what Patanjali clearly states in this sutra. Now let us try to look into Vyasa's commentary here. So Vyasa begins, Pratyaye samyamat pratyayasya sakshatkaranat tat parachitta jnanam tata parachitta jnanam. Pratyaye samyamat. So in samadhi state of yogi, what appears in the chitta is somebody else's mind. Now, why is yogi bothered about somebody else's mind, and why should he bother about somebody else's mind? Can be a very plain and logical question. But understand this. When you are a yogi, maybe you have a guru, you have a shishya. So, you always will be thinking of knowing the core mind of that person, being your shishya or your guru or associated with you, and therefore there is nothing wrong. It is not a curiosity like we have curiosity for neighbor's house, neighbor's people, neighbor's things. It's not such kind of curiosity. It's not somebody else's mind yogi will be curious. But there are some people in a circle that it will be important for him to know the state of the mind. It would be disciple, it could be guru, it could be someone close associate, and it is also important and vital to be knowing the chitta of that person who is so close to yogi in associations. And that is why it crops up, and therefore in samadhi it would come up from Om, because maybe it's a guru of yogi or it's a shishya of a yogi. And then it would appear in the mind, Pratyaya Samyamat. Then there would be Samyama on that Pratyaya. Pratyaya of somebody else's mind stuff. Then there would be Sakshat Karanam. And by that Sakshat Karanam, Tataha Parachitta jnanam. So Phalaswarupa, it is Parachitta jnanam. And Parachitta jnanam is Savishesha, particularized. So that brings the distinction between our understanding of mind reading, which is of peripheral condition. By peripheral supports, we try to have conjecture about somebody else's mind. It is not something like that. So, yogi will know the chitta of that person, whether the chitta has ragatmakata or deveshatmakata. And it will be very clear and absolutely valid. So, general state of mind will be known of that person. But the deshakala nimitta of such state of mind, from where it happened, due to which it happened, is not the support of samadhi. Therefore he says, Nachetat salambanam tasya avishayi bhutatvat. The Parachitta alambanam is only the support of samyama. But this is not support. What is alamban of Parachitta? Parachitta itself is locus around which there is samadhi, not the causal factors behind the state of mind. That's why it is avishayi, and therefore yogi will not know that. So Vyasa tells us, Raktam pratyayam janati amushmin alambanam raktam iti na janati. The mind has overcome with particular emotion will be understood. But why such, and what is the support for such state of mind or mood of the mind will not be support of samadhi. Parapratyaya se yad alambanam tad yogi chittena na alambani krutam parapratyaya matram tu yogina yogish chittasya alambani bhutam iti. So somebody else's mind is only support for samyama, object of samyama, and not the support of the chitta. The support of the chitta means on account of which the chitta comes to a particular state or is in particular state, condition and mood. So that is not the support of samyama. Therefore, that knowledge will not come. He will read chitta perfectly, how it is. Then it happens to we mortals, when it comes to reading the mind of someone else, what we call as face reading, there is greater amount of certainty, and it is absolutely true, no flaw whatsoever. However, why the mind is like that is not the subject matter of samyama, and therefore that is still unknown. So this is how Patanjali and Vyasa describe this particular siddhi. And these were sutras 19 and 20. So after having covered the 19th and 20th sutra, we will be going to 21st sutra, which speaks about antardhanam of a yogi. Yoga is disappearance, and it's a unique concept. It's not magician disappearing from the stage in a magic show, but yogi can also affect so-called disappearance, and that is precisely called antardhanam. So we will be going to that siddhi in our next session. So that is the 21st sutra of the 3rd chapter. So we will look into it in our next session. Namaskar all of you.